Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we've got some brand new Jurassic World figures. These were actually recently shown to me by my good buddy Classic Soars on Instagram. He had let me know that he found these at his local Dollar Tree, so I actually went out the other day to go look for them, but unfortunately my store did not have them. However, I went again today just because I was curious and decided to stop. I had no expectations of them being there. But lo and behold, there they were. So they are starting to hit Dollar Trees all over the place, and as you can see, these minifigures feature an Indominus Rex, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and a Velociraptor Blue, which is definitely really exciting. Some pretty cool species. I'm not super psyched about the blue, I guess, but you can see again, the packaging looks pretty decent, and we do have a bonus card here. The packaging does have the Jurassic World logo. You can see again, bonus card. It also costs $1.25 for these figures. Pretty cool look in here as far as what we have going on. You can also see blue, and then here on the back, kind of a little checklist there of the figures that are available in this line, but also the fact that this is actually made by Just Play, so that's intriguing because, you know, usually when we get minis at Dollar Tree, it's something that's created by Mattel, so we actually have something a little bit different this time. So let's pop these open and we'll check them out. So as far as the cards go, you can see they have a really cool, really shiny look to them. Definitely really neat overall, but for the most part, the actual images used are just kind of like, you know, generic stock images of the Jurassic World dinosaurs, but I love the fact that the dinosaurs themselves are outlined, you know, that again with that kind of like multicolored look, looks really neat. And then again we also have Velociraptor Blue, and then on the back you can actually see some stats about the Indominus Rex, and then of course you'll see the same thing for Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is supposed to be Rexy, and then the Velociraptor Blue. These cards are definitely a bit smaller. If we actually grab one of the Captives cards, you can see that it's similar in size to the small Captives cards that you get, you know, most often with the Captives figures. But as far as the actual dinosaurs go, first of all, we have Velociraptor Blue. So we'll actually just go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at Blue. You can see again the sculpt is okay. It doesn't really look that great. I would say they kind of captured the likeness of Velociraptor Blue's head sculpt. The proportions definitely seem a little bit wonky on this one. Not really all that great. There's also some decent detail, but it's not overly impressive when it comes to the actual fine detail of the figure. So, you know, it does have that going against it, I would say. But you can see again, when we take a look over at this side, one thing that is at least a plus is the fact that they did capture the way that the blue stripe sort of works and how it stops behind the eye. So that's definitely nice to see. We can see that there is a yellow eye with a black pupil, and then as you move down, again, the blue stripe leads through the body all the way out into the tail, but not the entire full way through the tail. Again, there is some okay skin texture, and if you were to repaint this one, you might be able to bring the detail out a little bit nicer. The feet are absolutely quite oversized, which is unfortunate for the figure. You can really see that again just looking at it right here. I feel like the feet definitely look quite large. The toes are also massive. You can see the sickle claw is in there, but it's actually relaxed, which is kind of neat because again it is just like Velociraptor Blue walking around. Doesn't look like she's like in any sort of a confrontational visual here, so the fact that they are relaxed makes sense. There's also a smear or something, I don't know if that's like extra paint right down there on the base, but what is cool is again the figures do actually include a base. You can see the Jurassic World logo down there. It is just a nice plastic kind of black stand, and then you can see the underside as well. I don't know if they're removable. No, it doesn't seem like they are, so they are completely solid on the base. I'm sure you could get them off if you really wanted to, but it would definitely take some work to do so. But overall, again, the figure's fairly fun for what it is. Just a neat little mini Velociraptor Blue. Then we also have the Indominus Rex. Now, the Indominus is actually pretty cool. You can see, I feel like the Indominus definitely resembles the dinosaur better than Velociraptor Blue represents Velociraptor Blue. Sculpt-wise, I feel like the head sculpt looks pretty decent. The fine detail is kind of smoothed out, so it's not super impressive in that aspect, but the teeth actually look pretty good. You can see the teeth, again, sculpted quite nicely. If they only had a little actual paintwork added to them, they could look cooler. We can see a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth. The tongue as well, sculpted out, and again painted with a pink, and the pink runs the entire way through the entire inside of the mouth. We have a yellow eye with a black pupil, and the head sculpt, again, like I said, does definitely overall resemble the Indominus quite nicely. As you move into the body, I would definitely say the detail on this one is actually quite a bit nicer than the detail was on Velociraptor Blue. It's a bit more vibrant. You can see that kind of armored look moving along the course of the Indominus. A little variation of color with a slightly darker shade of like a grayish brown sort of tone for the upper part of the Indominus, and then of course the lighter gray for the body. We can see the quills and everything, a little generic looking as far as the way that they look coming off of the arms, but they are there. Again, the skin texture looks fairly decent as you move through the body. I could actually see this one being pretty fun to repaint. The feet are definitely, again, oversized, just like we saw on Velociraptor Blue, which in a way there's not really any reason for that because they are on these little stands, so it doesn't really need to have oversized feet, but we can see some scoots moving down the toes, no paintwork for the nails on the feet. You randomly have painted claws on the hands, which are painted with a white. They definitely should not be, but like, I don't understand why you would paint the claws on the fingers quite sloppily, but then not paint the claws on the feet. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it is what it is. We can see the tail does lead down, curve back around. It's absolutely too short to actually be accurate in comparison to the Indominus, but we can see, again, everything looks pretty decent on this side as well. We've got a nice shot of that head sculpt. There we go. You can see the eye and everything. A little darker tone there around the eye as well. So the paintwork isn't half bad. And as far as an Indominus minifigure goes, this one's probably one of the coolest ones you're going to find, honestly. It's very, very neat. And then again, you have the base. This time the Jurassic World logo is in front of the Indominus. Then we've got the T-Rex. We've got Rexy. And what's interesting about this is I feel like this definitely much more so resembles a male Jurassic Park T-Rex rather than a female, because we have that much thicker neck here, especially in the throat region. You can see that we have that extra skin down there, which is absolutely more so associated with a male T-Rex. So I did grab two of these because I am fully intending on repainting one to give it that male Rex look. You could even maybe use this as like a Jurassic World Rebirth T-Rex, because it seems like they as well have a little bit of a thicker neck, at least as far as like the Mattel figures do. The teeth, again, look really good on the figure, actually, for their size. They definitely look quite nice. We can see the eyes are painted fairly decently. Darker tone there around the eyes. You have a yellowish tone moving down along the underside, and that's actually pretty impressive that they almost sort of captured that like appearance to the underside of the T-Rex, that kind of interesting way that the skin texture looks and the scales look on the underside of a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World T-Rex. They almost captured it. A little bit generic as far as the way they did it, but it's closer than you see for a lot of other Jurassic World toy companies. But if we turn it around, first of all, you can see a really cool shot again with the way it looks from the front. We can see the tongue sculpted quite nicely in there, also painted again with that pinkish tone, the skin stretching there on the inside of the mouth. Again, we have the pink the entire way through. Sadly, no paintwork for the teeth, but even just adding a little bit of paintwork yourself could make the entire thing look so much nicer. And it feels like we've kind of like progressed as far as the detail goes, because this one absolutely has the most vibrant detail out of any of these figures have had the entire time. You can also see that this, on top of the brownish tone, does have a darker brown sort of striping that moves down through the body, but does end as you lead out into the tail. The skin texture does look pretty cool. Does it look exactly like a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World T-Rex? Not really, but it is at least vibrant and does look, you know, fairly decent in the grand scheme of things. You can see the foot sculpt as well. Looks nice with the scoots down the toes and the, again, sculpted claws that do have a bit of a rounded look. Not quite as nice as we see for the teeth. The arms are really silly looking. Like the fingers are like short and fat and stocky and they just look weird. But as you move out into the tail does look okay. Again, probably a little bit too short, but looks better to me than the tail did for the Indominus. And then if we again turn it around, you can take a look at all of the different sides of the T-Rex. You can see it looks pretty cool overall. Definitely a fairly nice mini. Actually, all three of these are quite nice, and I really am going to keep my fingers crossed that this company creates a whole lot more of these. I would love to see a much wider, much larger line of these come out at some point. As far as the size goes, I really don't know what we're going to do here. I guess we'll just measure the T-Rex. So for a length on the T-Rex from the tail to the snout, about 3¼ inches or a little over 8 centimeters. And then for a height just shy of 2¼ inches, maybe actually a little closer to just over 2 inches or about 5½ centimeters. And I just hit Velociraptor Blue. But I think the better way to show you guys the size is with a size comparison. So there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Jurassic World minifigures. And you can see that they are definitely quite small. Absolutely minifigures, no doubt about that. But a better comparison, I think, would be with other minis. Here are our Just Play Jurassic World minis from Dollar Tree next to some Mattel minis, and you can see that they are of a similar size, but I would say definitely a little bit bigger, like especially when it comes to newer Mattel minis. Like if you were to compare a Velociraptor from the newer Mattel minis with this one, it would be ridiculously different because the new Mattel Velociraptors are like nearly microscopic. But if you go back to like the older ones, it would be closer, but overall I would say these figures without a doubt would be larger than the Mattel minis, whether it be the older or newer versions. And you can pretty much see the same thing again here with some Captives figures, showing you that they are roughly in a similar size range, but just a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier, but not far off at all, honestly. So definitely minis, but not super tiny minis. Very cool, very nicely sized, but you can very clearly see they're not too far off from your standard minifigure size range. So these brand new Just Play Jurassic World minifigures from Dollar Tree are all pretty cool, honestly. I actually really hope to see more of these coming at some point in the near future. I don't know if they have plans to release more. I don't know if like this is just a once and done kind of thing, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed we get many more species in the future because I would absolutely love to see them create more. Are they the greatest minifigures in the world? No, especially when it comes to Jurassic. I would say the Captives figures take the cake as far as that goes, but they are really nicely sculpted, and even if they don't perfectly portray the dinosaurs they are meant to represent, they do look pretty nice. Like, I think Velociraptor Blue's fairly close. The Indominus is definitely the best as far as screen accuracy goes, but the T-Rex absolutely has more of a male sort of a look than a female in my opinion, but still does look really quite cool. Some have really nice detail, some have kind of muted detail, some have decent paintwork, some have kind of generic paintwork, so it's kind of all over the place as far as that goes, but without a doubt they're still really cool. And I also quite enjoy the fact that they come with a base. I wish they were removable from the base, but having a base is definitely a nice touch because it does help with a pretty cool presentation for them, but also helps as far as stability goes, and you do get some pretty cool cards on top of everything. So if you are interested, make sure you check your local Dollar Tree, see if you can grab yourself some of these very cool minis for only $1.25 each. They're definitely worth it. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.